see the sticker I put on there?
I saw the sticker you put on there.
All right.
Well, welcome everybody to this episode of the Bar Podcast, otherwise known as the Bar. Right, Eric?
That's right.
That's right. Matthew, how are you doing?
Doing great, man. Doing great.
We're glad to have you here.
I'm glad to be here.
I was just saying a little earlier that it is a little haphazard when we get this thing rolling out of the gate, and I guess it really doesn't matter, right, Clark? We can roll any way we want to
in the beginning, but we added a new component that delayed us a little bit.
We always add new components here on the Barcast.
Well, and I think our audience has seen that, the progression of the studio. Our backdrops are always different, but this is solid as it comes.
Yes, it is. Yes,
no more styrofoam cups, so that's
right.
good news.
No, we got legit cups. I need to get mine turned around here so everybody can see that here. So not just listen to it, but see it as well. So
that's right.
Well, thank you everybody for listening in. We really appreciate it. As Eric said, we've had a number of different podcasts now dropped, and we're grateful to have Matthew on today. But as we usually do before we get going, we have a couple of resources if you're out there and maybe struggling with anything. You can text the word refuge to 494949. That's a very nice resource. I mean, it's nice because it's anonymous. I think that's probably the best part about that is, so if you are struggling, you don't really want to maybe get out there and talk to somebody. This is an anonymous way that you can text and at least kind of kick that door open. You can also text 838-255 or dial 988. That's the National Suicide Awareness or Suicide Hotline. So both of those you can use as well. And then to all of our veterans, we really appreciate, as we always do, we appreciate you greatly. And you can call 1-800-273-8255 as well as a resource there. So we just like to share a couple of those as we kind of kick things off here on Building a Refuge. But for those of you who don't know, we are a 501c3 that focuses on mental health. We talk a lot about this, I think, in the front end of our shows anyways, but it's important kind of to reiterate that. You can go check us out at www.buildingarefuge.org. That's pretty cool. That's another new, right, Clark? That's a new link?
Hey, I hear there's a new website.
Yeah, thanks to Mike Parsons, our fellow bandmate there that helped us out. He doesn't have a mic on though, so I can't go back to him and say
top
thank
notch
you.
work. It's top notch.
It's a beautiful website.
I hear him in my ear though. That's the cool part. I can hear him in here, but he just doesn't have a mic. We need to get you a mic, Mike. So, but anyways, go check us out on our website. Really cool. You can check us out on all our social media pages. But we really appreciate you all that have listened in and given us feedback over the past, really, almost a year now. We're coming up pretty close on a year, which is great.
Yep.
So we really appreciate everybody listening in. So, but anyways, Matthew Fultz, thanks for coming in and hanging out with us. We had you at one of our meetings. You came out and checked us out. So we're grateful to have you and talk a little bit about your world and things like that. So what's going on in your world?
Yeah, not much. Busy. I've been busy.
You are busy. It was tough to get you in here, so we appreciate it, man.
Yeah, we've been trying for a couple months now, I think.
I know. Yeah, the times just haven't been adding up, but now we finally made it happen. But
it's perfect.
Yeah. Well, we're grateful to have you on, man. We know that you're in an industry that certainly is demanding, and being in the media world and a reporter and kind of hustling and burning from both ends and all that good jazz. But like we do with a lot of folks, man, tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you got into the business and maybe a bit about your family and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so obviously, Matthew Fultz. I'm a anchor reporter at Channel 13 WTHR.
Yeah, right on.
Here in Indy.
Yep.
Been here about a year and a half.
Okay.
Moved here in January of 2022. I think when I moved here, it was the coldest day of the year.
Welcome to Indiana.
I had never felt that temperature before in my life.
So you bought a coat, right?
I had to buy a coat. All right.
Yeah.
I had to buy about five.
And the next day was probably 30 degrees warmer.
Right? Yeah.
Probably so.
Yeah. That's the way it rolled.
But I came from Virginia, was born and raised there, a small county called New Kent County.
Okay.
For those who don't know, it's between Virginia Beach and Richmond, Virginia, which is the capital.
Yeah.
So I was born and raised out there. Small little rural county. It's very small. There's farmland. We call it country. It's we had like 2 grocery stores in there. It's starting to boom now.
I mean you had some at least diversity anyways where you could go grocery shopping.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Food lines. We had them out there. I don't know if you guys have them out this far, but I grew up out there. Have one brother. We're 2 years apart. I was born in '93. He's born in '95. And both my parents still together. What?
You were born when I graduated high school, man. That's crazy. I know I'm getting old.
Oh my
dude.
God.
Yeah. It's
Oh
crazy.
man.
We don't look that old, though,
You're
do
sitting
we,
with a
Matthew,
couple
huh?
geezers.
No, yeah.
No.
Not a day over 35.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. With that beard, man, I mean, that does it all. So,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
yeah. I just can't grow one yet. This baby
Starting
face
out
is
for
still,
No Shave November.
Yeah.
That's
I
right.
can't grow one either. So
I know. I can't.
Maybe when I retire.
You got a few years to go, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, raised by, in a Christian family home, both
Yeah.
parents, my parents been together for over 30 years.
All right.
So big shout out to them.
Yeah.
And,
That's
awesome.
everything they've done. It was just a great upbringing. It wasn't, I had to say I had a good life growing up. I was blessed to be able to have like a nice area to grow up in, great friends, church family, just a great community that still backs me up and supports me today in everything that I do. And, just growing up, we were, just taught, the values, of being close to the Lord. I was baptized and saved in the 5th grade.
Yeah, right on.
And I remember growing up, our dad used to teach us the Lord's Prayer.
Okay.
And every day, he'd help us get ready for school when we were like in elementary school. We'd always work on little bits and pieces every day, and eventually we remember the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So it was really nice being able to grow up. I mean, I'm really close to my parents. I call my mom multiple times a day.
Are you going to call and tell her, like, hey, Mom, I did this podcast with these guys?
No, I told her before I was coming up here. So
that's
she
great.
always asking me what I'm doing every day.
Yeah.
The dads, we're close too, but you can go a couple days without talking to dad.
Nice job, Mom, for raising a wonderful son, man.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I'll call that out right now.
And they're still in Virginia.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
they're still in the same house we grew up in. My brother, he lives in Richmond now.
Okay.
He works in the IT field, so
Yeah.
I keep in touch with him as well. We've always been close, but we've
Yeah.
gotten closer since I moved out of here. So
Yeah.
I'll call and we'll text on our little group chats with our friends. and
Yeah,
stuff
it
like
checks
that.
in on you.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. So do you and your mom and dad and your brother have a group chat? Like, do you guys have a group chat?
So we don't. We'll have like a group text like maybe once every few months.
Yeah.
My dad might send something like, "Hey, we're on vacation. Like here's mom and dad. We're at the beach or something like that."
Yeah.
But we'll check in with each other group wise
Yeah,
every now
that's
and then.
that's fun, man. That's one of the things I think we enjoy with our kids, man. Is like
Yeah.
we have like it's kind of funny. We call it the damn happy family, and it stuck a long time ago, and so we have this little group text, man. It's been going on for a while, but it's always fun to send some like parent stuff to the kids. That's always good stuff.
Make you feel like you're doing something. Yeah.
right.
Are there
Exactly.
parent memes out there?
What's that?
The parent memes.
Yeah. Is that what they are? Memes or memes?
Memes.
I say
Memes?
memes.
I'd say memes, Clark.
That's
I don't
what
know.
everybody says
Yeah, I
except
don't
for
know.
Clark.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm
Clark
not a
says
big
mem-
memer or memer.
That's right. So parents are still out there, and where'd you end up going? Where'd you go to college? Were you out in Virginia?
Yeah, great question. I'm sorry I skipped over that.
Yeah, that's okay.
So I stayed in Virginia. So I went to community college
Yep.
right after high school, and then went to VCU,
Yeah, right
Virginia
on.
Commonwealth University.
Yep.
Go Rams.
Yeah, but
And I studied broadcast journalism.
yeah.
And the crazy thing about it is I remember growing up, I just wanted to play basketball. I wanted to be in the NBA.
Yeah.
That was my dream. I played it growing up. I thought I was good.
I think you're good.
I'm
Yeah,
good.
right. I feel like you're good.
I play in the Y League.
That's right.
I can keep up.
I play
Dominate.
defense. Yeah.
And then, after school, I remember my parents were like, hey, you're going to still live here. You gotta go to school.
Yeah.
And so I remember, when I was applying for community college, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was stressed out. And then I kind of, once I figured out, I was like, okay, once I met with the, what's the word? The counselors, I guess. you wanna say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of just thought about it and honed down on social science.
Okay.
So it was like mass communications, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember growing up, I used to watch Today Show. I used to watch 106 in Park on BET with Terrence J. I don't know if you
Okay.
guys know him.
Yeah.
But he really got me inspired to get into broadcast because I used to watch him like, man, that's just really cool. You
Yeah.
know, hosting a TV show, it's kind of relaxed. They get to do
Yeah.
fun stuff. And so I looked up his bio, figured out what he studied, how he got to where he got.
Oh, right on.
And I just kind of followed that same path and
Yeah.
just transitioned, did what I had to do.
So does VCU, do they have a pretty good broadcasting school? Are they known for that?
I wouldn't say they're known for, but it's called the T. Robertson School of,
Okay.
of Media and
Yeah.
Relations. They have a good program.
Okay.
They've won countless awards. And it was really good because we had a studio. You know, we got our cameras, so you're learning everything, how to anchor, produce, whatever track you want to go on.
Yeah.
And you can also do PR too. So it was a really great program.
Yeah.
I learned a lot.
Did you decide to go, like, where did you make the decision of being in front of the camera or behind it, or like?
So I always knew I wanted to be in front of the camera. I like attention.
Yeah.
I mean, listen.
That's why we do this podcast, man.
Clark does too, man.
Yeah,
I mean, look at the guy. I mean, he's an epitome of just handsomeness
I'm
over
a
there.
behind the cameras guy.
You got a camera on you, though, so that's good.
So it's like, and I don't mean that to be conceited. I think everyone who is on TV in some small way, they like being in front of the camera.
Yeah.
And so, but I also like being behind the camera, shooting and filming as well.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I picked up, okay, wow, like I can do this. Like,
Well, I noticed when you came in, man, you were like, I want to look through those cameras. You got a good look through one of them, didn't you?
Yeah. DSLRs. I have my own. I have my own that I like to shoot on too.
Over my head.
Yeah. That's right.
Over my head. Man.
Over your head?
Yeah.
You remember the old film camera, though, right?
Sure.
35 millimeters?
Sure.
Yeah, these are a little different.
Yeah, I know. My dad was a professional photographer.
Yeah, right. What are you talking about? You know this.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. He says he doesn't know this stuff. He knows
Yeah, you
this.
should know.
I know canister film.
Yeah, there you go,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that's cool. So when you started, I guess kind of right out of college, were you in Virginia, or is that when you made kind of the jump out here?
So I was in Virginia. So I was in Virginia a total of 6 years before I came out here. So I started in the Shenandoah Valley, which is basically where JMU is, if you've heard of that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Beautiful area. I don't know if you've ever been there, but Shenandoah Valley is has the Blue Ridge Parkway.
Yeah.
The highways go right through the mountains.
Yeah.
And you can just see for miles
Yeah.
the mountains. And
It's a little different here in Indiana, isn't it?
It is. It's a lot flatter. When people tell me they go hiking, I'm like, where?
You got to look over the corn husks.
The only like hills you have are like overpasses on the interstate. That's
right.
it.
Pretty much.
I know the area you're talking about. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
But yeah, that's where I got started, and I really learned everything. So I worked in a bureau, which made it even tougher. I was 25 minutes away from the station, so I lived on my own for the first time.
Yeah.
Worked on my own, pretty much I was pretty much by myself.
Yeah.
Most days, unless I went to the gym or occasionally went up to the studio.
Yeah.
But it was nice because I got to learn everything, how to report, anchor. I did a little bit of sports anchoring. We got the film games on Friday, so. It was a great starter market to be able to get my foot in the door.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Learn the fundamentals of news.
So that you were there 6 years.
3 years. Yeah, I was 3 years there and then went back to my hometown. Market of Richmond.
I got you.
Sorry.
Yeah. And then were you at a station out there as well then in Richmond?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Different company, different station, but a great market. You know, really got to learn a lot, see a lot. A lot of big national stories came out of Richmond.
Yeah.
It's I mean, for us, right, who are participants in watching news, right? I mean, my wife and I, man, in the mornings we love getting up and watching WTHR. It's just kind of what we do, you know what I mean? And so, I see Matthew a lot
all the time.
You know, and I'm like, hey, look, there he is. But we just kind of take it for granted, I think. And as we were kind of talking and and prepping for even this discussion that we're having. We think a lot about kind of what you go through, not only what you went through kind of to get where you're at, right, but the day in and day out, demands of what you do. And I think, that's probably where there's some connection anyways with what we do around mental health and specifically with guys, right? I mean, so talk to us a little bit about, if you would, just kind of some of the things that you've experienced, even in some of those earlier years, right? And going, man, maybe a good question, is it what you expected? Or are there things that like, you're like, wow, this kind of blew me away?
I think a lot of it is what I expected. I mean, in college, they really prepped us. One of my professors, adjunct professor, was a former anchor in the market. So she kind of told me, she's like, listen, guys, you're not going to get paid much starting out. Yeah. Which is another barrier. Yeah. And you're going to be working long hours. It's going to be tough. Yeah. And it takes a special kind of person to work in the industry, for multiple years. Yeah. And so a lot of it was, when I first started out, I was working night shifts. So I was working about 3 to 11. Okay. I was always a night owl growing up. Yeah. But it was tough because you're in a new market, you're still young. Yep. So you have to worry about, back then we had to have 3-story pitches a day. So, You know, we're trying to figure out, oh my God, like how do I get these story ideas?
Yeah.
3 a day?
Yeah, 3 a day.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It is. And especially when you're in a new area and you're still learning everything.
Yeah.
You're having to make connections. On top of that, you're trying to make sure you're writing your scripts right.
Yeah. So you were doing all of that. Like you're doing all those on your own. How?
Yeah.
So how long are those segments when you do those? Like,
so a typical, like if we do a package, which is pretty much, that's in a package is basically when they toss to a scripted story where I voice and have like interviews weaved in.
Yeah.
That's typically about a minute to a minute and 30, sometimes 2 minutes.
Yeah.
If I give you that much time. Sometimes it might just be us in the field where it's like we're reporting, we read a script from our notes or whatever, toss a quick soundbite interview, and then come back to us.
Yeah.
And so, you're having to do all that. Plus, as a college person coming out of college, some people are nervous on camera. So, I remember my first live shot.
I don't feel like you're nervous on camera, though. I feel you're pretty good.
Now, it took some time. Because, it's something new. You don't want to mess up. I just remember my heart beating out of my chest.
Gosh, yeah. Do you ever think like, man, I wonder when people are watching me?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right.
I mean, but now it's so, you do it so much, you kind of just forget.
Yeah.
That people are watching. I'm just like, okay, I'm just looking into a camera screen.
Yeah. I got you.
But
Yeah.
it was a grind.
Yeah.
It certainly was a grind.
So were there, just kind of keeping into the spirit of like some of the things that you experienced. I mean, even in college, was it pretty competitive, like in terms of like where you land or jobs or things like that?
Yeah, it's very competitive because everyone, you got to think, you have hundreds of kids across the country.
Yep.
Not even just kids, but other people in different markets who are also applying for jobs as well too. So you're having to, really make sure your reel's good, stuff like that, build these connections. And I'm just thankful, I worked at an internship. The station I worked at in Richmond, I also interned there in college. So I worked those connections, build them up. Also, my professor knew a lot of people too, so she kind of helped me get my first job.
Yeah.
But it's definitely competitive.
So was there, because you and I talked a little bit about this and just kind of keeping into context of what we're talking about. Like back in probably like when you graduated college in 2015, right around that area. So between 2015, because it's kind of interesting, right? Because we started building Refuge in 2018, right? And so when you think about the awareness maybe or more some of the exposure anyways to mental health. And I personally think that we're still really in the infancy stages of even understanding, ripping away the stigma. I mean, all the things that, we talk about not only on our podcast, but what you hear nationally and what you hear all this. But were there, like when you were in college or even coming out, and even in the profession you're going in, right when you started, so let's just say 10 years ago, not quite, 8 years ago, was there awareness around like mental health? Like was there much,
were you doing a lot of stories about that?
So it wasn't. I mean, I think I did stories here and there, maybe like Mental Health Awareness Month, those sort of things. But and I talked to my friends about this. I don't think mental health really became a forefront for our country until 2020. The pandemic.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because back then, when I first started, there wasn't like, hey, the companies weren't like, hey, let's make sure we're prioritizing on mental health, making sure you're taking days off. We have resources, that sort of thing. That was never really talked about. You hear about it maybe here and there, but as far as jobs, I think in colleges prepping you for that, I don't think that was the case.
Did colleges, I mean, and I'm just keeping this general, right? But did colleges, or do you think colleges anyways, either back then or even today, maybe look at it, what it was and maybe where it's at today, prep and maybe get kids ready mentally for what this role is, like what your role is today, right? Where there's more kind of, if you will, I don't know, maybe there's more support or maybe there's more groups, maybe there's more things like that. But do you see that more today? I mean, in general, or do you see that? Okay.
Yeah, you're seeing it a lot now. And I can't speak for colleges but I do see it a lot more now. And even at our company, we have, and companies across the board, we have like, excuse me, they have like, newsletter emails that go out to the company. Hey, we prioritize mental health. Like, hey, if you need to take a day off, take it. It's not like, oh, okay, no one's taking days off, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, you need it, take it. There's a family emergency, take it. Because we see so much and we go through so much, with these long hours and whatnot.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a minute. Like you know, it's always interesting, when you are viewing the news as a viewer, as a consumer of the news, but you on your end, you've got stories that you got to do. You got the pressures of everything. You got sleep that you have to somehow fit in there, right?
Yeah.
Because you and I, when you and I filmed together, you were telling me about your schedule, and I was like, "That's crazy, man! Like I can't even imagine that." But like when you pull up on a scene of a story that is just horrible, like, and I'm sure you've seen it all, based on the news that I've seen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, how does that affect you, and how do you deal with that on a day-to-day basis? And the reason I ask that is because we have guys on here all the time, different professions, and there's each profession has its own quirk, when it comes to mental health and what we're gonna have to deal with. But you see a lot more than the average person does, and deal with people a lot more than the average person does. So I'm just curious how you deal with that on a day-to-day basis and what that looks like for you.
Yeah, I mean, one thing, I hate to say it, I think sometimes so many reporters get desensitized to it because we cover it so much. I think for me, sometimes, like in the moment, I feel bad. Because like sometimes I'll interview a parent that just lost their child, or someone who just lost their loved one, and you can just see the emotion in their eyes. They're crying, and so you want to be professional and try to hold it together for them and whatnot. But it does take a toll, like sometimes I have to just go home and kind of just, clear my head, go to the gym, pray and just really try to, have that balance, work-life balance, because if not, it'll eat you alive. And I know there are some people I have friends in this industry, they're like, hey, producers, for example.
Like burnout probably, right?
Yeah, they do. And they just say, hey, it's too much, because all I'm writing every night is just someone got shot, someone got killed, and it can drain you, know, especially when you're surrounded by just all of that, you know, and you don't have, but you have to have that like positive outlet. You have to find something that kind of just gets you away from the element. Obviously you want to be like in the moment, you want to be respectful and caring for the story that you're covering, but it's tough, you know, and it's tough to also go to these scenes, and it's like, let's say, for example, I go to a scene of fatal shooting or something, and you look around the neighborhood, and it's like cars are going by, life still goes on, but and it's tough, because like, you just makes you think like, man, what a world we live in, that person or somebody's going through the worst day in their life, but yet the world around us still goes on. And sometimes that really makes me just sit and reflect, and like, it makes me sad, it really makes me sad, because it's just tough.
Do you also, you think in you said desensitizing, but I think you have a great vibe about you, I think, in terms of how you genuinely care. I'm like, the first time I met you, you always have these kind of like, oh, Matthew Fultz is coming out today. I don't know you from Adam, right? But even that first day meeting, you know what I mean? You were genuinely like, hey, this is really cool what you guys are doing. When you came out to Harley Davidson, that's where we do all of our meetings. I probably a little plug for Harley Davidson of Indianapolis, but they're fantastic. But you came out and you were like, man, this is really cool. Like, you asked a lot of questions, which was great. I know you do that anyways, but do you think like, by seeing what you see, it also makes you humbled to the fact, like, you have a lot more patience with people, you know what I mean? Like, in terms of like, man, this guy, he may be going through something that I don't even know, you know what I mean? And we talk a lot about that, you know what I mean? Just in ways to be more maybe humbled anyways, to like people, like, you just don't know what people are going through, and we see that a lot of what we do. Like we talk a lot about that, not only on these podcasts but in our meetings, and when you find out, like, man, you just don't know. But what we do know is when somebody shares a story, like, it's like I always say, courage is contagious, right? So when somebody tells a story, it's like all of a sudden, people get a little bit more comfortable to share, you know what I mean? And I think that just creates that kind of humbleness. But and I think that's a lot, probably, what you see, just kind of what you go through every day. Yeah.
So from Richmond, where to next?
From Richmond, I came
straight here.
Yeah, to Indy. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I came
on a cold ass day.
It was cold, man.
It was May.
It was. I think
It wasn't June.
it was a long car ride. So I took a U-Haul, and my car was attached. To
Oh
the
my
back of
gosh! Any fun trip stories? Like any like roadside like.
Oh, well, I stopped a bunch of times to make sure the trailer didn't fall off. That was what I was worried about.
Right.
And they said in the U-Haul thing, you shouldn't go over 65, so I kept it at 65 the whole time.
That's great. You see some people going down the road at 90 with those things. They're
No,
just waving around.
No, I don't know how people do that.
I know, right? Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So you got here, and that's when you started with WTHR, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right on.
Started there, and I really just took my time and tried to get plugged into the community.
Yeah.
It's been great. It hasn't been all easy.
Well, no.
I think when we talk about mental health and whatnot, I think last year was probably my toughest year my entire life.
Yeah.
My entire life. Just going through a lot. So I'm going through personal things, personally, professionally. And when I say professionally, it's just like you're in a new place. So I had to work on a lot of things.
Yeah.
My voice. Some of the southern drawl that I had in certain words, just trying to get better, fit into the community, and to not regionalize myself.
Okay.
And just trying to find story ideas, and so a lot of things. It was just it was tough. My car got wrecked and totaled. Somebody hit my car overnight and totaled like a bunch of other cars. So I was without a car for 4 months.
Yeah, that's
finally
no
got
fun.
a new one.
Yeah,
but yeah, it was tough. It was tough. But that's where I really kind of like really, really got back into the word. I think that was like my saving grace.
Yeah.
For sure. Because I know I would have been given up by now if it wasn't for that.
Yeah, it's wild because we I think Erik and I have probably gotten a little more comfortable with this over time because we definitely we know anyways like what has given us our foundation is that belief in Christ and following that every day, right? Having that spirit in you, and so but it's one thing at building a refuge we never would rush. Or, we call it should on anybody, but we never would rush anyone along, right? And say, you have to do this, or you should do this, or you should do that. But having that, relationship, having that faith foundation, man, has been a big, big part of like how we've even gotten here. I mean, Clark, I'm not going to get emotional, man, but the whole reason we're doing this is because of, I think, our belief and our focus in that, you know what I mean? And sometimes we get humbled, man. I mean, we were just sharing a story recently, man. Erik and I were kind of asking, like, we do these monthly meetings, and, it's like, gosh, what are we doing these for, right? Are we doing this for us, or what are we doing? And then some lady comes in, man, and just smokes us. You know what I mean? So,
well, we talk a lot with guys about coping mechanisms and inevitably, we had a guy on last time, Jake Gilbert, and he talked a lot about his faith and how that helped him when he didn't even realize it. He didn't know what was going on. And so it's refreshing to hear a younger guy like yourself who knows that when they get into those kind of struggles, they can rely on that and turn back to that or do whatever they need to do to get back to that. Because you can lose focus, right? Yeah. It's pretty easy to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is.
I mean, this world, and especially, again, the industry that you're in, man, I mean, it's probably really easy to your point earlier, like you mentioned a great comment, you get desensitized to it, right? It's like you become this like, oh, okay, I'm going to this next and just need to get the names, get this, get that.
Well, you can't get away from it because you're part of it. I can turn the TV off.
Yeah, and that's exactly right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to go find the next salacious thing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is a grind.
Yeah. So it's probably a good transition to ask you about that, man. Like, what are some, I mean, obviously your faith is a big one. So we know kind of that foundation helps you kind of through meditation or whatever, just praying or what have you. But what other areas do you kind of do, or what else do you do to kind of help you with, I call it mental wellness, Matthew. I don't like to call it mental health. Mental health, as we know what it is, it labels it, right? But, there's a lot of words that get thrown around, right? Mental illness, mental health. I don't know.
Or just decompress.
Yeah. Me personally, I like mental wellness because it's like anything else. You mentioned going to the gym, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm guessing that's probably a part of this. But, if you want to go train to do something, you have to train, right? And I don't think our minds are any different than that. I think if you want to get your mind in a better place, you have to make a point of doing something, right? So what are some of the things that you do that kind of help you?
Yeah, so one of the things I started last year for the first time was therapy.
Okay.
I actually started that, and
it's great.
That was, really, really helpful for me.
Yeah.
And then obviously, the gym.
Yep.
And then just, I kind of just prayed on it, just asked the Lord to kind of just lead me to, the right resources and whatnot. And so I joined a Bible study group that I go to every Thursday, or at least try to if I'm not busy doing something else. But that's been a great community for me, because a lot of those friends, like, will hang out. Yeah. Some days we'll go line dancing on Wednesday, like I mentioned.
Oh, yeah. Clark, there you go.
That word
line
again,
dance,
community.
That's our next. You want some friends to come out? We'll line dance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love that.
But, and it's just things like that. And then also golf. I kind of picked up golf this year. I guess I'm at that age where...
man, I don't know. I don't know if that's a coping mechanism or not.
Oh, you get so mad, huh?
For me, man, that's clubs in the lake for me.
I will say it's frustrating, but it can be kind of addicting. So I kind of brought my clubs.
Fun. Yeah.
You're outside in the elements for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, I do that. And obviously I play basketball a lot still. I play pickup.
Yeah, right
weekly,
on.
Play in a league at the Y.
Yep.
Work out.
You mentioned that the Y League, man.
Yeah.
Where are you ranking on the Y League these days?
He dominates.
What position
Top
do you play?
So I play like...
You're power forward, right?
Yeah. About a shooting guard, power forward. Yeah. I play all the positions.
That's right.
Guard.
I love that.
And then also, so this summer I actually picked up wake surfing.
Oh, yeah, I saw some pictures of you doing that out of Raccoon Lake, right?
Yeah. Out of Raccoon Lake. I did an interview. Shout out to Lori Keaton. She holds the Guinness World Record for the longest time wake surfing behind a boat.
How long?
Yeah, she did that on Morse Reservoir, right?
Yeah.
I remember seeing that.
How long was it?
So she did it for 8 hours, her first record, I think a few years ago.
8 hours?
8 hours. But
holy smokes.
And you get I think she gets 15-minute increments, breaks according to the rules.
Yeah.
But when I interviewed her last year, she had applied to do 24 hours straight. She only made it I think 14, but still she broke her own record.
That's crazy.
They had to put giant gas tanks.
I've wakeboarded. I've never surfed.
It is. I mean, talk about an energy suck.
I bet
it is hard.
Were your thighs burning?
Yeah, once I got it,
it's hard.
Once I got it going, yeah. But I kind of picked it up really easy because I used to wakeboard.
Oh yeah,
last few summers I used to go to the lake back in Virginia.
Yeah,
and I finally learned how to wakeboard.
Yeah,
and so that. And I snowboard and stuff too, so that kind of helped me into wakeboarding.
Yes.
So I don't know if you know this or not, but Clark A is a world champion jet skier.
No, not a world
champion. Yeah, you put him on. You put him on a Kawasaki 440, dude. He will light you up.
Can you imagine that hair?
I'm going to stay away from you.
Behind
well, it's hidden by a helmet.
The golden locks just flowing behind him on a jet ski.
Those glasses,
amazing, dude.
Yeah, all those sports are awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I bring that up though because I think that what we've learned, and Clark, you talked a lot about this when we had you on here, and it's about community. Yeah. You know what I mean? No matter what that community looks like, whether, it's the guys you play basketball with, or your Bible study, or new friends you make on a wakeboard or whatever, man, it's having that, that community around you.
Is it amongst newscasters and amongst, your team, is it difficult because of the shifts that you guys do and the just traveling all over the place? Is it difficult to have work community?
Yeah, I would say so. I think it's harder the higher you go up. Yeah. So it is tough, right now with all of our opposite shifts, and people have other what's the word I'm looking for? Other commitments, past work. And a lot of people, when you get to higher markets, people are married, they have families, or girlfriend and boyfriends, and so a lot of them are traveling the weekends. I work weekends too, so sometimes a lot of people are out of town and stuff like that. But we do try to get together. As much as we can and try to just hang out and decompress. I will say in the starter markets, I right out of college, everyone's college days. So you're kind of a lot more closer. Everyone wants to go out and stuff like that. They can stay up till 3 a.m. and be okay.
Man, I haven't seen 3 a.m. in a long time.
Now, do you have a signed camera guy that you work with all the time, or is it a rotation kind of thing?
So it's kind of like rotation. So we have 2 photographers in the morning, and sometimes we'll just get paired. They'll get paired with one of us, and we'll go out weekend shifts We'll also have photography would go out. A lot of times I'll work by myself. It's called MMJ, multimedia journalist.
Oh, nice.
So a lot of times I'll shoot.
So like when you came out to Harley, you were by yourself.
Yeah. So I have my own camera equipment. I write and shoot.
Okay.
A lot of times but one thing we don't do if we go to a shooting or if we go to a scene where a shooting happened, obviously we'll go together in pairs. Just for safety reasons.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I think you and I talked when we met at Harley. We were talking about this, and if you remember that weekend, or it was, I think, right around then when that journalist was like, she was shot on camera. It was down in Florida, I'm pretty sure, is where it was at. And that's kind of how you and I talked about just kind of some of the like anxiety and just some of the, things that you all go through. But I'm sure that, I mean, you think about that every time you go into a scene, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, your head's always on a swivel.
Yeah.
I mean, nowadays it's, even though police are there, I feel like our world, it's just, in a crazy state right now. It's like you just kind of got to, even with the police there, it's like you got to kind of just always wonder, who's walking up, those sort of things. But those are the good things that we do. We always have each other's back, when we're setting up. We make sure to always look out for one another. Make sure to go to a well-lit area.
Is there training for your like camera guys and stuff like that for like walking into scenes and so on? Like, is there training for that, or is that just kind of you learn that over time and experience?
You kind of learn it over time. I mean, obviously in college and stuff, they teach you the fundamentals of how to use a camera, set it up, and all that stuff. But a lot of it is like just kind of real-world experience. Yeah. You kind of just learn as you go. Like for me, it's like, when I was in my first market, I was running my own live shots in the middle of nowhere, stuff like that. But you just pick up on stuff. Like, your IQ is like kind of like common sense, I wouldn't say. Like, hey, okay, I know not to go here.
Have you ever gotten in a situation like that where you're like, your gut's like, I don't know, man, this probably not be, I'm gonna pull a shoot on this one.
Oh, all the time. I mean, all the time. I mean, yeah. I mean, especially, because I get an example. I went to a scene one time. I think it was on the west side, following up to a shooting. A guy got killed in a food mart.
Okay.
Grocery store. And it was my first time going over there. And I went over there to kind of scout the area out. And it's just some odd characters were showing up.
Yeah.
And I just kind of called my photographer and said, hey, listen, like, I think you might need to come over here. Don't really feel comfortable right now.
Yeah.
And that's been, and our team, most news stations are good about that. Like, they've always been, hey, if you don't feel safe, your safety is the first priority. So if you don't feel safe, we'll call us, we'll pull you back, or, we'll relocate or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
So as far as career goals, like what you'd like to aspire to do, what is it that you ultimately would like to do? You currently like what you're doing right now and want to keep doing that, or is there something you...
Yeah, I do like what I'm doing right now. I've always had a goal to try to get to, the network level, whether it's like one of the morning shows at the network level. I just kind of always thought that was really cool and just had a real aspiration to do that.
Yeah.
I even kind of always thought, had dreams of, maybe hosting my own TV show one day or something like that. But those are some of the goals, and we'll just see, if the good Lord has it in his plan as well. And
if you had a TV show, what would it be called?
I might have to keep it simple, Matthew Fultz show.
I like that. Yeah,
like an Oprah or Steve Harvey or something like that.
Yeah,
that's great.
Keep it simple.
Yeah, I mean that's
cool.
kind of the I mean it's fun though. I think as you travel or you navigate your career path, man. I mean I think having that aspiration to do stuff like that's great. I mean I don't, man, look, sky's the limit, man. You know what I mean? I think that's the cool part about, what you get to do, right? I mean, I think it's a mindset, though. We talk a lot about that on here, man, having a mindset. But I think foundationally, too, having that foundation that you have with a great community around you. And you seem pretty level-headed guy. Like, you seem like a guy that you're like, okay, I'm just aware of what's going on and things like that. And I think that's super important.
Yeah.
Well, I
appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt.
With Building a Refuge, this podcast and also the meetings that we do, we focus on not only the story and your job, your career, and all that stuff, but the hope on the other side of the stuff that we deal with. So you and I off camera talked a lot about your faith and how important that is to you. Maybe discuss that a little bit, how that has assisted you and has helped you, because we've got, like Brandon said a little bit earlier, we don't like come out of the gate talking about it. But if somebody comes and says, "Hey, I have no problem talking about that," like we love to talk about it. Like we, off camera, we talk about it all the time. And when we get an opportunity to sit here, around the table with somebody who loves Jesus and loves, to talk about it, we want to take advantage of that. And so guys can help and maybe possibly understand that and see where we are coming from a little bit more, and obviously where you're coming from. So I just would like for you to talk a little bit about that. You've touched on it a little bit, but just in life, not only just your career, but your personal life, like where that comes into play and how that comes into play.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, it comes for me, my everyday life, for me, growing up, in our church and our family, Christian family, our parents and my church family has always told me growing up, me and my brother, they said, no matter where you go, never forget God. Never lose sight of that. And I remember them telling me that before I moved out here.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like I mentioned, last year was one of the toughest years I had to go through. I got to like my lowest point I've ever been in my life. I kind of was going through, like I said, stress at work, lost my car, went through a tough breakup.
Yeah. And all those are all common keys, man. Yeah.
And I just felt like giving up. And I felt like I had two options. I could either turn to the world or I could turn to the Lord. And I just remember kind of just, really upset in my apartment. And I just kind of remembered, what my aunt had told me. She was like, when you get out there, you might go through some stuff, but wherever you go in life, never forget God. So I kind of just started praying. And, one thing led to the other. The Lord told me to call this person, call that person, call that person. And they helped me through that time. They really helped me through that time. Cool. And, now, at first I never, I was reading my Bible, doing stuff like that. I was praying every day, but I was never in the Word. Like, hey, I'm reading this because I want to read it. I'm understanding it. I'm taking the time to interpret what I'm reading. Now I can do that. I mean, it's just, it took, I think, getting me to that lowest point to really sit down. Okay, let me start watching YouTube sermons. Let me start, finding a community that I can get into. And I remember last year, earlier when I first got here, my friend who I played basketball with, he told me about the Bible study. He was like, yeah, you should come. And I was like, yeah, I'll get to it. And I never got to it because I was just so busy, with everything else. And something told me like, hey, reach out to him. And so we played a basketball game, and I said, hey, man, like, I really want to come, but my car got towed. I don't have a car. He's like, I give you a ride. No problem.
That's all I love.
And so he gave me a ride, and we went. I enjoyed it, met a whole bunch of great people, and just kept going since. And so everything was coming to fruition. Yeah. And a lot of times I think we get so stuck on like, why did this happen? Why does this happen? But everything, I think God has everything happens for a reason.
Oh, man. Yes,
and so now I'm looking back on the last year, and I'm like, yeah, I'm sad that it happened. I kept questioning God, like, why? I don't think this is right. My way is better. When he's like, no. Trust me, I'm telling you. My way is better. I will reveal it in time. Yeah,
just trust me.
Exactly. You just got to trust him. And that's what I had to do. Yeah. And so everything has kind of just been laying out. I connected with you guys. I connected with, Lori, the lady that I surf with. They're in the Word too. So we all talk about that as well too. So it's just, it's just kind of just really relying on that faith, just really trying to get in the Word, and just do as much as you can. The more you get closer to him, the more he reveals himself to you.
Amen.
And you just kind of just feel better about everything. Like I kind of feel a lot better.
Well, and I don't want to seem like a broken record every time we get on this podcast, but one of the things that Brandon and I encourage in our meetings and when we talk to guys individually, when they're in their apartment and they're feeling the way that you felt, there is a point where there has to be a decision made.
Yeah.
And if you look at the story you just told us, it's very important. And I hope guys hear what you had to say, where in the fact that you made that decision. You made a decision to get back in the Word. You made a decision to get out out of that apartment and go develop community and seek people out. And that's the biggest thing that we try to hit on when guys are there, because all you can do is one thing. Because when you're overwhelmed like that and you've got grief, you've got anger, you've got fear, you got all that stuff just riddling around your head, you can only do one thing, and that's make a decision just to move one time, and then the hope is, and what we talk about a lot, the hope side of it is that they will see what you saw. They will see that, there's a woman out there that is surfing, and you built a community with a woman who's surfing on a lake. I mean, that's crazy, right? I mean, you never would in a million years would have thought that would be something that you would do, but it's like, and then you picked up golf and you picked up these different things and you got out and you started moving, and that's when the things started to reveal themselves.
I would say the other thing too, and great point. I think the other point to call out too, Matthew, you said like, hey, it was like the worst point of my life and you're not, obviously you're a pretty young guy, right? And that's important for younger guys that are listening to this, right? I mean, we've had a couple of guests on that have been, pretty young, and they've all gone through some things in life. But I think, what you said, you're like, man, had some challenges at work, stressed out at work, right? Or going through a breakup and, your car's down. It's like all these things kind of pile up, right? And they're very common challenges, I think, that everybody faces in life. Job challenges are everywhere, right, man? I don't care who you are out there listening. I guarantee it at some point in time, you're going to go through a job challenge. So, but I think it's important to understand, to Erik's point, you got to that point, and man, I couldn't agree with you more, man. I mean that if you put your trust in him, man, if you just, and I'm not telling anybody you got to do it today or tomorrow or whatever, but if you do it, man, your world will change. Mm-hmm. And I think the great part of it is the community, and you mentioned a community too, like your Bible study that you're in. I go to one every Friday. I've been going to it, and I'm gonna tell you this, man. 10 years ago, I would have never been a dude that would talk about a Bible study. Never. I'd be like, I ain't going to that, man. No way. That's heebie-jeebie church crap, and I ain't doing it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I've been going to this now for 7 years. We get up. We meet at 6 o'clock in the morning on Fridays. Wow. And I call it. It's more like a locker room Bible study, right? But what I've learned in the last 7 years, man, is I couldn't put a dollar figure on it. Like it's amazing, but it's also very scary to put it's kind of really scary to push all your chips in. You know what I mean? But when I was at my lowest point of life, man, I mean, it's how I ended up reconnecting with this dude. I mean, and we've talked about it on a previous podcast, but it's real. This is real. And I would just encourage anybody, man, if you are at that point, or this is something that you're listening to, and from a hope perspective, as Erik called out, just dip your foot in the water a little bit. You know what I mean? Just check it out.
Reach out to somebody.
Reach out to us. Shit, call us, man.
Yeah, because we're not going to throw the Bible at you.
Hell no.
We're just going to hang. You know, and that's hopefully the people that you meet. The people that you can build that community with, and it's encouraging, man. It's encouraging for someone young like you that has a story like that can come out and tell that. Not only that, but have the balls come out and say, "Hey, I went to therapy." Yeah, I mean that ain't common. That isn't common.
It's the best thing that's ever happened to me, Matthew.
When did therapy? When did you make that decision?
So that was last year, kind of like once I went through everything I kind of went through, kind of like once I hit that low point.
Yeah.
I kind of a few people were suggesting it, and like I said, I kind of just found the resources through work. Yeah, and just called, kind of did research and stuff like that, and
that's great.
And just did it. And but the thing is, I think therapy was something that really wasn't talked about a lot.
That's right.
Growing up, I'd see it in movies, you hear about it.
Yeah, but the first thing that happens, you say you got therapy, everybody's like, "Oh, what's going on? Is something wrong?" I mean, that's the first thing that comes out.
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong. It's like, to me, I look at it like practice. Like, that's what I look at it like. I'm sorry, man, but I mean, that's what it is, to get your mind in a good spot,
Yeah.
Hey, Clark, is that your phone, buddy?
No, it's not me this time. It is normally.
Yeah. But I mean, I couldn't agree. I just applaud you, man, for doing that. Absolutely. Because I mean, resources like that are there to help. And one of the things, and you may agree with this, one of the things that I think is really cool about, like, the lady that I talk with, she's neutral, man. Yeah. Like, she don't know my mom, she don't know my dad, she don't know my brother, my sister, she don't know any of you guys personally, but I talk about you all the time. But she is neutral, and that's what I just love about it,
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's good just to have somebody you can talk to who doesn't, like, you can talk to your friends, your parents, maybe a counselor, your pastor or something like that, but having somebody that's, hey, I don't know who you are, they know you to extent, you get to know them, but they don't have to take a side. They don't know part of that back history.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like a neutral slate, and I think that makes it a little bit better too.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
totally, man. I
love that because it's rare that we are in a community of people that say they've been to therapy.
Yeah,
I mean, but it's getting more and more common.
I think so.
And I love it. I love that.
Yeah,
it's a huge deal.
It is, and that's the whole, man, we're grateful to LDR Studios here and Clark and his, team and everybody that helps us to do this, man. I mean, because we hope, right? I mean, as our mission says, one story at a time to create hope, right? Mm-hmm. We hope that people are listening. You know what I mean? We've gotten great feedback, and I think, in this last 8 months, man, we've had a lot of great momentum, and, stories like this, stories like yourself. I mean, we've had, when you think about kind of the ages of folks that we've had come on our show, I mean, it's pretty broad, and we've had some younger folks come on, and what's really cool is, man, I mean, they've come into a point in their life where they make a decision. Yeah. And that's you said it just a minute ago, man. You have to make that decision. Yeah. You made that decision.
He made that decision.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see, and that's encouraging to me.
And if you're listening, man, it's okay to do that. Like, I know it's scary, super scary, right? Yeah. I mean, because nobody knows the future, nobody knows what's next, man. But
I mean, look at his situation. He's in a brand new city.
Yeah,
man, he doesn't know anybody.
Yeah,
and he's reaching, and he has the courage to reach out. Like
and
that.
You're literally drinking from a fire hose in the industry that you're in, and quite frankly, you probably are seeing. I mean, here's the deal. I don't want to throw media in all in one bucket that it's all bad, right? Because I know
you probably get that all the time, don't you?
Well, that's a lot of what you do see. But however, I know there's some really cool things too that media stations do. I know WTHR does a lot of really, really cool stuff. You know what I mean? And so it's not bad, but there's that other side of it too. You know what I mean? So I mean that I think, to Erik's point, coming out here and jumping into that pool, and gosh, man, I mean, it's a lot.
So what we usually ask all the guys that come on the show towards the end is we ask, number one, what brought you here? And number two, what would you say to that guy who's sitting in his apartment, by himself, who's in a bad place? What would you say to that guy?
All right. Yeah, so what brought me here to the show?
Yeah.
I'd say, obviously, I like to talk.
Yeah, that's great.
No, I really wanted to share my story, and I thought when you guys first, pitched it to me, I thought it was really great. When we first talked, at Harley-Davidson about mental health and the mission you guys were doing, I was really interested because mental health is something that I kind of am a big advocate for.
It's great.
Obviously. Yeah.
And, I think it should be talked about more. But I would say, to the person sitting in that apartment, I would just say, just it's going to get better. I'd say make that decision, get up and reach out to someone. If you don't have no one, there are resources. Like you said, you guys they can call you guys. You can reach out to me, any of us.
Yeah.
Because I think once you take that first step, it's going to get better. It's not going to get better overnight. It just doesn't. But in time, it will get better. Because I was in that apartment. I did not think things were going to get better at all. I dreaded. I had to force myself to get up. And it was even harder for working in my industry because I had to put on a
face.
For TV. And so that was even harder. But I would say to them, just take that step. It's going to get better. But you got to get up. You can't sit down. Yeah. Once you sit down in that apartment, you're going to, all those thoughts are going to be in your head. You got to distract yourself from it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Amen. Right.
Absolutely.
And I mean, Clark, what'd you say? I always love Clark's quote, life's a tragedy
filled with joy.
Filled with joy. Yeah, man, I'm going to memorize that. I remember the front. I just got to make sure. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's such a cool quote. You know what I mean? Because it is, right? I mean, we all will face things at some point in time in our life, right? But there is joy in it, man. I mean, and we laugh a lot about what we do and our stories, and you know what I mean? And we don't want anybody to think like these are just comedic situations, right? Because they suck, man. Like, when you go through them, these are times that are tough, right?
Yeah.
But when you're around a group of people and you can share those stories, man, sometimes all you can do is just laugh and go, man, that was a really crazy situation.
Well, we got through and we're on the other side for everybody that's come on here.
Yeah, and I think the commonality of that is what, kind of is the energy around it, you know what I mean? And I was going to ask you, man, I mean, you're in the younger generation, Matthew. I mean, and this is probably kind of a little bit of what Erik was asking as well, but what would you say to younger guys out there? You know what I mean? We kind of throw a big net over mental health, right? But what would you say to younger guys as well, man, that think this mental health stuff is a bunch of crap? You know what I mean? Like,
I would say, really try to take it seriously. I think, now our generation of what we're seeing now, social media is really, really playing a big, big role in it. That's really just making things worse, I feel like, because, we're kind of addicted to our phones. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I mean, I think we all are, just scrolling aimlessly. I would say really try to take advantage of it because you don't want to. I mean, I'm the type of person where I like to make as least many mistakes in my life as I can. I like to get it right on the first go around, but that doesn't happen so much. But yeah, I would say, if you're young and you're going through something, don't be scared to share your feelings. Don't be scared to cry. Because I'm the type of person where I can talk to anybody. I'll talk about my feelings. I talk to myself in my apartment all the time, in my car.
Good for you. I love that.
I'm the type of person, I don't mind sharing how I feel in a moment because it makes me feel better. Getting it out, I don't like being in my head too much. I got to talk to somebody.
Yeah, good for you.
But I would just say, if you're that college athlete, high school athlete, or a smart student or anybody, just really don't be scared. There's so many resources out there, whether it's a guidance counselor, your pastor, someone out there cares. Yeah. They're willing to listen. Your parents, you might not think it, but they do. Mm-hmm. And just trying to, have that person.
Yeah, that's great advice, man. I think that's what's fun about doing these, man. I mean, it still blows me away that we're sitting here doing this stuff, you know what I mean? But I get humbled by that, man, because I care about people, you know what I mean? And I think that, people have asked me that, why do you like people so much, man? And I'm like, well, everybody's got a story, for one. You can learn from people. Secondly, I don't care if they're 100 years old or they're 15 years old. You know what I mean? You can learn something from them. And I genuinely care about people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think for me, and I would imagine, I would guess it's probably part of your career is the interest in the human story.
Oh, yeah.
And just what goes on with people, like what's rolling around in their noggin, like what's going on. And it's every single time we sit down with a guy and they can unload that, like, you just watch it just fall right off their shoulders, and it's humbling to watch it, to be in front of it, and to see it. And I think we got a piece of that today.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Yeah. Well, listen, Matthew, we can't thank you enough, man, and keep doing what you do. I love having coffee with him on the weekends, man, and give you a little cheers, which is great. It's kind of fun, right? Now that we know you a little bit better, even, man, this even makes it more enjoyable, anyways. But
hey,
we can't thank you enough.
Before we
go ahead,
close
Clark.
this out, let's pitch the chicken queue. It's next week.
Chicken queue? What are you talking about? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's good. Thank you, Clark. See, I'm glad I have people that kind of help us. He keeps us on track. Yeah. He's more than just LDR, man. He is way more than that. But yeah, so we do have a couple of fundraising events across the year. We had the Rock and Ride for Hope. Erik's rocking the shirt, which is cool. That's at Harley Davidson of Indianapolis. And then we have an event that we support, National Suicide Awareness Day. That's September 10th, and we are doing an event at the VFW in Carmel. So this is pretty cool. We do a good old Wisconsin chicken queue. So all my family from Wisconsin, that's where I'm originally from anyway. So, but anytime they do fundraisers up there, they would do them in parks, and they'd always have chicken queues. So we kind of brought that to Indiana, but that'll be at the Carmel VFW on September 17th. That goes from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. We got some great music that'll be played that day from Tay Bronson and Sadie Johnson, so really cool stuff. And the cool part about this is not only do proceeds go to building a refuge, but we're also going to share those with the VFW there as well, because our veterans are very important to us, and we know how mental health and suicide have impacted that community. So we're very grateful to them. But yeah, man, come on out if you're listening in. September 17th, Carmel, Indiana. It's a pretty cool place. The VFW is really cool. They just built this really cool new pavilion. Mm-hmm. So it's gonna be right. LDR is doing the sound that day, which is pretty cool. So and
check out Matthew on WTHR.
Check out Matthew on WTHR, man. Yeah, we're gonna get you some more fans, buddy.
Sounds good. Up and early.
Yeah.
So, you have an Instagram?
Instagram Matthew _Fultz. Everything else is just Matthew Fultz TV. So look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah.
We'll make it happen.
Well, we appreciate you being a part of this community, man. I mean, we want you a part of the band, so you may end up with one of these shirts. You gotta wear it proud, though.
Yeah, I'll
right?
take
Come
it.
out to
That's
our
pretty
event.
cool.
Yeah,
like
man.
it.
You gotta give it. If you want a nickname on it, if you got a good nickname, let me know, man. We'll slap a good nickname on it.
Just make sure he gets the spelling.
Clark is Clark A. It's not Clark. It's Clark with an E because
we messed that
up. Yeah. Well,
I'll take the blame.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Mike's in my ear. That's pretty good. Hey, Mike, yours was just a little blousy. It's okay, man. Right? But thank you very much again. We hope to talk to you soon, and appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
man.
Yeah, we out.
This is my refuge, something to hold on to. It is well within my soul. Jesus built me a refuge, someplace I can run to, a place we now call home.